You want to see a scary movie? Well, this isn't it.
Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and this time I'm back with a requested movie review from a local co-worker. You know who it is. I will be reviewing a movie that he let me borrow called The Haunting of Winchester House. Now, he had heard that a while back that I did a movie review on the Winchester movie, which actually to me wasn't that bad of a movie. Honestly, I'll leave a link in this video that you can go and check that movie review out. It's actually pretty good. Now, this movie in itself is kind of an odd one at that. It centers on a family that is pretty much given the job as caretakers at the Winchester house, and then the story happens as it goes through. Now, the key difference with this is you can tell this is almost like a made-for-TV movie kind of quality over the fact they did not have a big budget with this, and it honestly shows. But when the movie starts out, it's really kind of odd. At the beginning of the movie, you focus on, it looks like Mrs. Winchester in her house, all depressed and upset, as a UPS driver goes up to the house to deliver a package. When she gets there, there's like this little wooden ball that's rolled to her, and the UPS driver picks it up and sees that this girl in this white dress behind her, plays catch with her for a little bit, and then goes to deliver the package. Mrs. Winchester's looking at her all upset and snobby and all that, and got her to sign for the package and said, "Oh, must be so nice living here," and she just gets this pissed ass smirk. Well, then what happens is she's like, "Well, here's your ball back that your daughter gave to me," which pisses her off even more, and she doesn't really talk to him, but she signs for the package, and the UPS driver goes on her way. Then it kind of flash forwards to what I'm not going to like to call, I think they're called the Grennies is the name of the family, but the father looks like a discount Stephen King, and they're pretty much the new caretakers of the Winchester house. Pretty much they got a bag of keys in the mail, and they're loading up all their stuff to head there to take care of the place for a couple months, and that's basically the only job that they have to do is just to look at the place there, take care of it for a couple months, and I don't understand why. I guess the motherfucker ain't got no any other job. So they load up and they get in their car and they drive up there. Now, it's the middle of the daylight when they're driving up to this place, and they're almost falling asleep at the wheel, which is pretty damn stupid. And then they're driving up on this dirt road as they have a truckload of rednecks drive past and almost wreck them and make them go off the road. And they even yell at them, it's like, "You stupid ass rednecks, you assholes." And they go up, past the rednecks, which seem to serve no purpose in the story. That's the only time you see those guys, the rednecks. They're so drunk, they're literally hanging with their hands out of the car with beer cans, like, "Yeah, America!" type redneck action. So they go on their way up to the gate of the Winchester house, which isn't a gate, it's just a chain that is hung across two trees. Now, this is the first part that kind of bothered me with this movie, is all you have to do is he sits there spending 15 minutes checking all the keys, none of the keys work on it, and all you have to do is just pick up the chain and you could drive your car underneath it. But instead, they do the smart thing. You know what they do? They gather up all their stuff, they leave their car behind, and they walk to the Winchester house. They finally get to the house and they go to try to unlock the front door. The front door just unlocks itself. It's magically unlocked in the first place. Almost like it's welcoming them in, come on in for some reason. We don't need to have a big set of keys for any purpose in this movie. Just come on in. You don't need to get, worry about them keys. And they get in and they have the most terrifying thing happen that is so frightening. They get attacked by boom mics. But nonetheless, because of the poor budget of this movie, it shows because there's only like 4 or 5 locations in the whole movie in the house. And I have to admit, on their way up to the house, it is such a beautiful matte painting. Oh my God, yeah. You know what? I understand they didn't have much budget, but you look at it and it doesn't look anything like Winchester's house. It doesn't look anything like, they don't call it the Winchester Mansion. They literally call it the Winchester House for a reason. Because it's like a normal house. You can tell they just went and used a computer to add on some stuff, and it's just a matte painting that they walk up to go in there. Now, as they're going through the whole 4 rooms of this mansion, this house, I swear it's the same 4 rooms through the whole movie, they decide on picking which rooms for them to stay in. The girl immediately falls in love with this one room that has wallpaper that looks like library books. Because after all, when you ain't got a budget for a movie, the best way to make it appear like you have a huge library is just put up some fucking wallpaper that looks like a library. That works brilliant. Now, as the parents are discussing this, they're like, we don't really know if we want to have our daughter stay in this room away from us. But they're like, it's okay, because after all, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing could possibly get up into her room and hurt her, just squirrels. And then the wife responds with this nice little thing while he's kissing her husband, going, oh, those evil nut-biting squirrels. And then they have this weird music, and they do the best segue of all. They cut to a baggie of carrots. That's right, all of a sudden they're in the kitchen, and they're getting stuff out of the refrigerator, and apparently they must have this thing fully stocked for them, because 1, not only is the front door not even locked, 2, why the hell they give them keys if they don't need the keys, and 3, not only are there baggies of fresh cut carrots for the girl to eat, but there's also steaks for them to grill. So that's really weird. So the next thing it jumps to is basically the husband going outside to grill the steaks. At this point, the other girl goes outside to check out the garden, which consists of a little walkway and like one statue, because they ain't got the money for a damn garden. Well, while she's there, she sees the girl in white. And the girl in white pretty much rolls a ball at her and then walks away. And the little girl don't think anything of it, just thinks, oh, it's just a neighbor. We're out in the middle of nowhere. It's just a fucking neighbor. Because after all, little girls just hang around here wearing old-ass white dresses. Not a big deal. Now, at this point in the movie, you meet another main character. He literally just appears out of nowhere while they're grilling because he's having problems light the grill, and all of a sudden the grill just bursts into flames with flames, really good CGI flames, and he finally gets the grill going, and the guy is by the name of Harrison Dent. He's a black guy who is a paranormal investigator, and he shows up there just to let him know, hey, I'm in the area, if you need anything, call me. And they get in a nice little conversation. Basically, they don't believe in ghosts. He tells them about how, ghosts are around and stuff like that. There's been lots of ghosts and weird things in this house, just to call him if anything weird happens, and then he leaves. Okay, at this point, the little girl, their daughter, decides to follow the girl in white who goes down to the cellar. Like the classic cellar doors like you see in a movie where there's a hurricane tornado where they go into the cellar to survive. She goes down there. The wind picks up because one of the number one things in this movie is apparently they did have a good budget for fans and leaves, because the wind picks up, the door slams shut, and it scares her and she screams. So mommy and daddy run to save her, and they open her up. They open up the door. She comes out. Nothing's wrong with her. She just got scared because the door slammed behind her. Everything's fine. She's crying, and that's the end of that scene. It flash forwards to a part where they're all getting ready to go to bed because it's nighttime, and the girl's pretty much getting ready to fall asleep. The mom and dad notice they're hearing music coming from her room behind a door. When they open the door, there's a wall there, so there's nowhere else to go, which is one of the nice little classic things of meaning back to the Winchester mansion. The fact that they have like all kinds of doors that lead nowhere and steps like that. In this movie, it doesn't have any of that. I think this is the only part in the entire movie where it has anything that is related to the Winchester house in terms of how it's structurally designed. All weird. I mean, they open it up, they hear the music, they see a wall, and they're like, well, it has to be closed from the other side or something. We're not worried about it. Let's go back to bed. At this point, the girl is awoken from her sleep because she has the ball roll across the floor. So when she grabs the ball, the door kind of opens slowly, and you see the girl in the white dress just sitting on the floor patiently. And nothing really special there, and the music starts playing all ominous and all of a sudden there's a big wind gust behind her because the window is open. That tends to happen. So when she turns to look and comes back, the girl that was sitting on the ground is gone. It cuts back to the wife and the husband in bed asleep. The wife kind of wakes up and looks over, and this is kind of one of the parts in the movie that actually was kind of creepy for about 5 seconds, and it doesn't make any damn sense. It appears to be like a mutilated baby doll of some kind crawling across the floor, and you can hear like babies crying, like a baby crying, and the lady, she's freaked out by it. Naturally, she doesn't wake her husband up. She just sits there staring at it, going, ugh, and it crawls to the edge of the bed, and you don't see it. Okay, now Now, you naturally would think if something like that would happen, you might look over on the other side of the bed. She does not. She sits there and waits, and naturally this thing comes up on the side of the bed, and it looks like a cross, like somebody had sex with a basketball and a potato and then stitched it together. It's kind of creepy looking, but they don't show it that well to where you really can't see it. You don't know what the hell it is. It looks like a lima bean on acid, and all of a sudden she's like, and the thing disappears and it's not there. Now, she still does not wake her husband up. Instead, you know what the perfect thing she does is? The perfect thing she does? Fuck it! She goes back to sleep. Now, at this point in the movie, things start picking up. The girl is awoken from her sleep, from her covers being slowly pulled off her bed onto the floor. She gets up and she looks at the covers on the floor, and as she does, they start rising like something is underneath them. She's like, oh my goodness. So naturally she reaches out and she pulls the covers down, and when she does, there's nothing there. Now, at this point in the movie, they start doing a certain effect repeatedly. The classic walk-by effect. Where the guy just like a shadow walks by either behind you or in front of you real quickly when the character's not looking. And that way, that's like dramatic. Well, at this point, there's a shadow that walks behind her. And when she turns to look, all of a sudden, this hand comes out of this lady and pulls the girl into the room. And she disappears. The wife and father wake up because they hear their daughter screaming, and they try to find her, and she's no longer in the room. They can't figure out where she is. Now, this is where stuff really starts happening. They start seeing ghosts, which pretty much consists of people, actors in outfits that are just standing around. And there are some of them that have mutilated faces, but once again, I kind of wish they would have showed a little bit more over the fact that it's so damn dark, you really can't make out what is wrong with them. It looks like one's got his face blown off, looks like another's missing in a jaw or something, but you really can't see it, which is kind of disappointing. Naturally, since they're trying to find their daughter, you know what happens next. Do they go and look in the room where she is? No, they go down to the basement with a little candelabra lit with candles, right? It's like, we're going to go down here with this thing. And naturally, shit happens while they're down there. They see shadows. They got things that are spooking them out and scaring them, and they get split up. The husband thinks that he's got his wife, and he goes up through the doors leading outside, like earlier on, and realizes it's actually the ghost of Mrs. Winchester, who tries grabbing him and then flies past him. He's like, oh shit, and then the doors close behind him and he cannot get them open. He's like, oh crap, my wife was left behind in the damn basement. What am I going to do? So he heads around to the front door. As he's going around to the front door, his wife actually comes out the front door and past the little garden area, and they see all these ghosts standing there, all these people that are there, and they're just like, oh my God, it's the ghosts of all the dead people from the Winchester rifles. They're haunting the house. During this time, they did do one smart thing I give them credit for. The father, when his daughter was missing and all this weird shit happens, you know what he does? He tries to call the police, which is fantastic. I love that. But the thing is, for whatever reason, even though he calls them, the police cannot understand him. They're on like, sorry, I can't hear you. It's just jumbling. I just hear jumbling. That's just jumbling. So he cannot get through to the police. So he puts the phone down and they keep looking for their daughter on their own. And as their search goes on, they're fighting and dealing with these monsters with like a fireplace poker going through the same 4 rooms of the house, because that's the only things they have. But the police actually show up. One fat cop and a woman cop show up at the front door. And they're like, well, we didn't understand what's going on, but we did get a call from this location, which is kind of cool because that meant they tracked it to the cell phone, which was actually pretty, smart. And I'm like, all right. Now, while they're there, I think one of the dumbest things happens. All of a sudden, they're looking at each other, and the guy's like, and the lady cop's like, what's the matter? You got your anginas kicking up? I told you not to eat that. And a big gust of wind blows him off over the railing of the front porch, and he dies. Followed by a close-up shot of the female cop acting scared like she sees something, and a big gust of wind blows her ass over the railing as well, and she dies too. Since both the parents are not able to find their daughter and they cannot get through to anybody at all, they try to call the paranormal investigator guy, the Dent guy. Now, he says he can't really understand them because, once again, he got the phone call, but he only hears static. He says to meet them on the front porch. So they go out and they meet him on the front porch, and then he goes into detail explaining about how there's certain kinds of ghosts in this world. There's stage 1 ghosts and stage 2 ghosts. Stage 1 ghosts are the ghosts that really can't hurt you, but they don't really know that they're dead yet, okay? And then the stage 2 ghosts are the ones that do realize they're dead, and they're just pissed off, and they're just there to hurt people. And most of the ghosts there is a collection of level 1 ghosts and level 2 ghosts, and he's there to try to help them. So, as he's explaining everything about the ghosts and they're walking into the main room, the wife gets pulled into this one room and the door's closed and they can't get in there to help her. She's being surrounded by these ghosts that are tormenting her and everything. And so Dent and the husband are fighting their way, trying to get through there. And Dent pulls off one of the neatest things, I'd have to say. Yeah, in that stupid movie, he's got a pocket watch that is holy. It's been, christened, or it's got holy water on it or something. And he sits there and he starts swinging it around, right? Like this. And he hits one of the ghosts in the head with it, which makes him explode and disappear. Because that's how you get rid of ghosts in this movie. You hit them with a pocket watch that has apparently been blessed. Because that seems to get rid of evil ghosts. They're actually able to meet back up with the wife because the door's open, and then they head outside into the front yard. And that's where they come across the dead bodies of the police officers. Apparently, a 5-foot fall off of some railing killed them. The one lady had like a stick through her neck or something, and they're like, oh my God, and they see her spirit come out of her body, and the spirit realizes that she's dead and then goes back into her body and disappears. Apparently it's stage 1 there. And they're like, oh crap, what can we do? These spirits, they're evil. They're gonna kill us. And the guy's like, hey, Dent's like, let's head into this main room, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a spirit circle on the floor. By drawing this spirit circle on the floor, I'm also going to be able to magically somehow call all the ghosts, the good ones and the bad ones, so we can figure out where your daughter is and get this to stop. And as long as you stay in this circle, we will be fine and cannot hurt us. Now, while he's drawing this circle, he's kind of on the outside, and he stops and he looks at the camera and goes, oh shit! Okay, and a big gust of wind blows him against the wall real hard into the fireplace, which kills him instantly. You actually see his spirit come out and then go back down and disappear. So they kill the Dent character off like that, and then all these ghosts show up and they're trying to pull the husband out of the circle before she can complete drawing it, because it's not completed yet, in order to suck a soul out or something. I don't know, it doesn't make much sense. But they get into the circle, the ghosts go away for a short period of time. After the ghosts seem to go away, they see a hanging ghost, which is actually one of the main characters that they show at the beginning of the movie in this picture. He's basically one of the family members of the Winchester family who is deaf. So he wears like a little like a chalkboard around his neck that he can write on because he can't hear anything. And they find him, and he's sitting there and he's scratching on this thing, and they figure out it means that he wants them to follow him. So they're following him as he goes through these rooms, and as this part goes on, they start suffering certain things that's weird. The wife keeps getting blood that appears on the top of her head dribbling down, while the husband keeps coughing up blood, and they cannot figure out why. The husband thinks since the one husband died of tuberculosis, he thinks it's just an onset thing of some sort of tuberculosis that the ghost is doing to him. But they never really explain till the end what the hell's going on with that. Now, as they're going through, this ghost is leading him up higher and higher and takes him into the attic and to a big crate that is covered by a bunch of boxes that are really heavy. And he points at it and disappears. And they're like, well, what the hell's going on? So they take all this shit off, they open up, and they realize that the girl in white that has been throughout the whole movie is actually the dead daughter of Mrs. Winchester. And what had happened is she was playing up in the attic when the deaf guy was coming up, and for whatever reason she decided decided to hide in this big crate. Well, when she did that, she didn't realize the deaf guy couldn't hear her, and he stuck a bunch of heavy shit on top of the box that she was in, and she could not get out. Now, he left, and she struggled. She ended up suffocating and dying, and that's why she became a ghost, and that's also apparently why Mrs. Winchester's ghost was still in the house haunting people, because it was really kind of odd. They don't really explain any of the other ghosts, but they do explain that, and apparently she was pissed off and a ghost, and that's why she was going around trying to scare them and trying to kill them and all these other ghosts as well, which made no sense at all. So what they did was they opened up the box, they seen the mutilated, decrepit, rotten corpse of the daughter, and by doing that it released her soul to where Mrs. Winchester's ghost showed up with her daughter's ghost, and they were able to come together, and that's what calmed her. That's what made everything all right, was the fact the mother just needed to find her daughter, even though she was just stuck in a box. So they found each other, and because of that, everything got calm. At this point, you start hearing the missing daughter finally start screaming again, and they hear music playing. So they go back to the room she was originally in, open up the door that has the wall there, and then they realize now, well, maybe there's something behind this wall. So they punch through this cardboard thin wall that happens to be there and find another room inside with the music playing, and they find their daughter perfectly safe and sound, and they take her and they get the hell out of their house. This time, when they're outside, it's daylight. All the ghosts have stopped attacking them. You see the ghost of Mrs. Winchester and her daughter walk off and disappear, like their spirits are finally come to rest, and they realize that they're safe and sound and they're fine, and they decide to get the hell out of there and get back in their car and get the fuck out of Dodge. I mean, this thing has been nothing but a complete crock pot full of shit, because what they do is they go out and they go down and they realize the chain, it's not connected there. It's laying on the ground, and their car is nowhere to be found. And they're like, well, what the hell's going on? They're like, great, somebody towed our car or stole it. So they decide, you know what, we're going to walk back to town. Fuck it. You know, as they're walking, the wife actually sees these tire marks that goes off the cliff. And she has them, the father and daughter, wait, and she looks over and sees a nice little twist. Ooh, it's a M. Night Shyamalan twist. Ooh. Apparently, what had happened at the very beginning of the movie is when the rednecks drove around the corner, they actually drove off the cliff and wrecked and died. The whole movie, they were dead. And that one guy, the black guy that showed up to help him Dent, since he was a paranormal investigator, he was there to help these ghosts figure out that they were dead so they could go into the afterlife. He was there for them because the whole movie, the fact was they had died in that accident and they didn't know they were ghosts. So when they were in that house and everything that happened, it's because they were ghosts. And the reason why the wife kept having blood dribble from her head and the husband kept puking up blood is because that's what happened that killed them in the car accident. She had busted her head against the window and he had busted his chest against the steering wheel, and the daughter went straight through the windshield. Now the thing that's really weird about it though is the daughter was never like coughing up blood or anything, but it's a little girl, so I guess they didn't want to show that. So the movie ends as the wife doesn't want to tell the parent, the father and daughter, that they're all dead and ghosts. So she gathers them together and hugs them and tells them that she loves them so much, and they just walk off into the sunset. And that was my epic review of Haunting of Winchester House. Hands down, I'd have to say it was a very disappointing movie from start to finish. Had some okay parts, but considering the overall budget, you could tell this was a really bad movie. It actually has the nerve to say that it's the terrifying true story. The only thing true about this is the fact that they actually had a bunch of movies on the other side of the disc. The only thing this leads to me to believe is the fact that you don't even have to worry about where it's taking place. Winchester House was just thrown in. It could have been taking place in a broken down McDonald's for all I care, and the same story could have been told. The Winchester House being added in was kind of a joke. The only thing it does lead me to know one fact in life though, is if you ever get in a predicament where you start seeing ghosts and weird things start happening, the best thing to do is not freak out and not run around and try calling people, but look around for one of these. Try to find one of these that might appear somewhere around you, because it would save you a hell of a lot of time to find out pretty much early on the fact that you actually died and you're a ghost. This was Nate, aka Double Dog, and I want to say thank you for everyone who subscribes to my channel. I want to say thank you for everyone who watches this video. A big shout out to the guy at work to let me borrow this movie. And remember, people, I currently have a contest where I'm giving away a Nintendo Switch, a Labo, and some other items as well. You'll find a link in it at the end of this video, as well as a direct link to my original review of the movie I went and seen of the Winchester Mansion. And I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out.